All right, welcome class. Today we are talking about 2-2, solving equations involving roots. Our learning intention today is going to be able to solve for variables like x and y in equations that have roots, square roots, and cube roots. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So as you should know from last year, right, that you can solve for a variable, which is a number we don't know like x or y, by using inverse operations. We've seen this in the past where if you have, let's see, draw an example here. So if you had like x plus 3 equals 9, well, we would solve for x by using the inverse of addition, which is subtraction, and we would subtract 3 from both sides to isolate the variable. Those would cancel, and we would be left with x equals 9 minus 3, which is 6. Well, we can do the same thing using square roots and cube roots. So let's take a look. 9 squared, let me switch to the highlighter. 9 squared equals 81. And that means that the square root of 81 is 9. We learned that in 2-1. So let's put this all together and see how we can use square roots and cube roots and inverse operations to solve for a variable. So here we have our equation. We have t squared equals 169. So what you need to do is know that the opposite or inverse operation of squaring is just taking the square root. So to solve this, we just need to take the square root of both numbers. And let's do that. All right, so here we can see we have the square root of t squared and the square root of 169. Remember, what you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side to keep it equal. All right, now let's see. When we take the square root of t squared, let me switch to pen, these will actually cancel and we will be left with t. And the square root of 169, you would just punch in 169 on your calculator and then hit the square root button and you should get 13. But remember, because the plus or minus are in front, I want both roots, positive and negative, so it's negative and positive 13. Because positive 13 times positive 13 is 169, but so is negative 13 times negative 13. Now, let's check the next couple slides and make sure our work is correct. So as you can see, we did this math correctly. T will equal plus minus 13. Now what I want you guys to do is on your own, pause the video and tell me what y equals when y squared equals 144. Pause the video and try it on your own. So your first step to solving this problem on your own should have been to take the square root of both y squared and the square root of 144. Once again, because when you do something to one side of an equation, you must do it to the other side. All right, keep working through the problem. Your answer is on the next one. All right, and here you see that our answer is y equals plus or minus 12. And that's all there is to it, all right? Let's move on. So just like how squares, let me switch to pen. So just how the square of something, right, h2 is the second power, is the inverse of square root, well, cubing something to the third power is the inverse of your cube root. Your cube root looks like your square root, except it has that little 3 in front. And remember, on your calculator, this is going to be that second and 0 buttons, all right? So you're going to solve this the same way. You're going to take the cube root of both sides, because there's a little 3 there this time. It's not squared, it's cubed. So take the cube root of both sides, and that's how we're going to solve. Let's take a look at what this looks like on the next slide. So as you can see, here it is, nice and set up, taking the cube root of both sides of our equation, and that will simply equal -4 once you punch that in the calculator. And that should make sense, right? Because -4 times -4 times -4 will give me -64. That's what that cube root means. So on your own, once again, pause this. Try to solve m on your own using your calculators. All right, here we can see the answer, right? Just took the cube root of both sides, and we got our answer, m equals 2. That is all there is to this. So for some extra credit, write some new example problems on your own and solve them. I want 1 square root and 1 cube root, and that'll get you 10 points extra credit on your bell work. Have a good one, y'all.